Hello everyone, in this video we will be discussing about the wheat milling. So before we begin with discussing the milling of the wheat, first we will have a little bit of introduction about the wheat. So the scientific name of the wheat is Triticum aestivum and it belongs to the family Gramineae. So that is the same family as rice, so basically the grass family. And it is one of the most important cereal crops in the world. When we say one of the most important cereal crops, we mean that it is consumed in very large quantity and is a part of a staple diet for many people. They are consuming mainly wheat in the form of their staple diet as main source of carbohydrate as to provide the daily energy. Mostly consumed in the form of flour obtained by milling the grain. So generally the most consumed form of the wheat is in the form of wheat flour. It is being milled into a flour and then it is being consumed. Small quantity of wheat, however, is also converted into certain other products. So for example, certain breakfast cereals or other products. For example, we have wheat flakes, puffed wheat, shredded wheat, all of these products. So small quantity of the wheat is converted into other products other than the wheat flour. If you look at the structure of the wheat grain, basically it consists of three parts: bran, endosperm and germ. In case of wheat, the bran constitutes roughly around 12%, whereas the endosperm makes up the major portion, that is around 85%, and the germ makes up around 3% of it. So if we look at the basic what the bran, endosperm as well as the germ constitute, so bran is mainly rich in the B vitamins along with the fibers. So bran, we can say that it is a fiber filled outer layer, right? As we see, it is outer layer of the cereal grain along with the B vitamins and fiber, and it also contains certain vitamin and minerals. Not only vitamins and mineral, large number of phytonutrients are also found in the rice bran. So for example, we have flavonoids, indoles, all of these in small amount of protein as well. So a number of bioactive constituents are also present in the bran and it is known to have a very positive effect on the health. Next, going on to the endosperm, the middle layer which contains mainly the fiber and the protein and mainly the carbohydrates. So mainly endosperm is the portion which is the starchy portion which is containing a lot of carbohydrate and the main energy providing. Then we have germ, which is a small nutrient rich core which contains antioxidants along with certain vitamin E. So mainly germ is very rich in the oil lipid portion, right? So when it is rich in the oil lipid portion, it will be containing certain oil soluble vitamins. So for example, vitamin E. So now when it contains vitamin E and certain other phytonutrients as well, they are a very good source of antioxidants as well. And because of the presence of these oil, they contain a lot of healthy fats. So the unsaturated fatty acids along with the minerals such as iron and the zinc. So if we look at the composition of wheat, so the composition will obviously differ as per the different varieties of the wheat and even with the environmental condition. But roughly, moisture content is around 10 to 11% in wheat and carbohydrate can be around 69 to 72%. Protein around 10 to 13%, fat 2 to 3%, fiber around 3% and ash around 2%. So that is basically the approximate composition. The composition of the wheat may differ as per the varieties and certain other factors. Now looking at the types of wheat. So before we begin with the milling of wheat, it is important to understand what are the various types of the wheat that we are using. So first one is the Triticum aestivum that we also looked at as the scientific name of the wheat, since it is the most commonly used variety. If we look at the consumption of wheat in India, Triticum aestivum is around 95% we are consuming around Triticum aestivum. So it's we can also call it as a hard wheat. The reason for calling it as a hard wheat is because it contains more protein. And we have another variety which is called Triticum compactum, which is also called soft wheat as it contains less protein. So because it contains less protein, it can be used for consumption of the food products where so much of a typical texture or a typical strength is not required by the protein. So for example, biscuit, cakes, pastries, whereas for the products where the protein is responsible for giving the exact texture to the food product, for example in bread making, we will be utilizing high protein flour, that is the Triticum aestivum, because the protein value is very important to give the bread its desired structure. Then we have a third variety, Triticum durum. Again, it is also known as durum wheat, and it is mainly utilized for making of the semolina and the macaroni kind of products. So Triticum durum also contains high protein, and we can say that Triticum durum is a type of a hard wheat only. So if now the types of wheat we have looked, that there is a hard wheat variety known as Triticum aestivum, which we are mainly consuming in India around 95%, and then Triticum compactum, that is the soft wheat, which we are utilizing because it contains less protein for food products such as biscuit cakes, and Triticum durum, which is again a kind of a hard wheat, and it is we are utilizing it for the production of semolina, macaronis kind of products. So now, before we begin the milling, we will just look at the meaning of the term milling. So it is a series of operation under the dry or the wet conditions with ultimate aim of dehusking, debranding, splitting or grinding. Basically, milling is size reduction. So when we say size reduction, it can include any form of size reduction, be it removing the bran. So we might be debranding it, splitting, as in case of pulses we are splitting it, grinding, maybe to produce the flour, right, or dehusking in order to remove the husk. So for example, if we are producing brown rice from the paddy, so it can include all of these, and basically we can say that it is a kind of a size reduction, and the main aim is to processing of the food grain into edible form. Why we are basically doing it? Because the main aim is to convert it into an edible form. So for example, wheat or paddy cannot be consumed as such. They have to be converted into edible form. So for example, in case of the rice, we will be removing the husk, and in case of wheat, we are not consuming the wheat as such. We are milling it into a flour and then consuming it. So the main motive is to convert it into edible form. So if we see milling, we can say broadly that milling can be of two types, either grain milling or flour milling. So grain milling and flour milling, as the name is suggested, we are making ultimately what we are receiving is a kind of a grain only. So for example, we have seen in case of rice milling. So when we are making white rice from the brown rice, it is a kind of a grain milling. Our final product is also a grain. And then we have flour milling when we are making a flour. So for example, if I am making whole wheat flour out of wheat, or if I am making refined flour out of wheat, that is a kind of a flour milling. So when we talk about wheat, we are generally going to look into the flour milling, because what we are making out of the wheat final product is the flour. So objectives of milling. So what basically are the objectives of the milling? The main objective is to grind the clean and the tempered cereal. So first we will be tempering the cereal. When we will be looking at the milling, we will be going through this step. So we are going to grind the clean cereal, and our ultimate aim is to obtain maximum amount of white flour from the endosperm. This will be our aim when we are producing refined flour. So once we are producing refined flour, we want to get maximum amount of flour from the endosperm, and we do not want that the germ or the bran should be mixed in it. To completely separate the bran and the germ from the mealy endosperm, and to thoroughly pulverize the mealy endosperm into middling, semolina and flour in case of whole wheat. So we want to separate our wheat into all of these products. We will be looking at all of them while discussing the milling. So before starting, we will look at what is the difference between the refined flour and the whole wheat flour which we are obtaining after the wheat milling. So when we say the whole wheat flour, as the name suggests, it contains whole portion of the wheats, right? So it will contain bran and endosperm as well as the germ. So all of the complete wheat will be milled in order to produce whole wheat flour. So the whole grain will produce whole wheat flour, which will be containing bran along with fibers, endosperm, that is the starchy carbohydrate middle layer, along with the germ, which is the nutrient packed with B vitamins, vitamin E, phytochemicals and fat. So all these three portions will be included when we are making whole wheat flour. But when we are making the refined grain, we will be removing both the bran as well as the germ. We are only and only concerned with the endosperm. So as you see over here, we are only taking the endosperm and we are removing the bran and the germ. So when we will be looking at the wheat milling, we will be looking at both of these. How we will be making the whole wheat flour? We will simply be grinding the complete wheat, but when we have to make refined wheat flour, we need to grind it in order to completely separate the bran as well as the germ, so that what we are left with is only and only pure endosperm. Generally, we are utilizing refined flour for the production of bakery products, whereas when we are consuming in the home in the form of chapatis, we are going for the consumption of the whole grain flour. So as we see, the bran as well as the germ is being removed, so obviously refined flour will be somewhat lower in the nutritional value when you compare to the whole wheat flour, because it is only consisting of the endosperm. Along with the bran, we have devoid the cereal grain of the B vitamins along with certain other fibers, right? And along with the germ, we have devoided with the fats, with the healthy fats along with the B vitamins and vitamin E as well. So the refined flour will be much less in the nutritional value when we compare it to the whole wheat flour. So milling basically of the wheat can be done either by the traditional milling method or by the modern milling method. So as the name tells, traditional method is the method which we have been using since the traditional times. So typically we have been using two circular thick stones are used, one lying on the top of the other, as we can see in the diagram. So we have two stones. Both of them are made up of a rough kind of a material so as to give good abrasion so that the wheat can be crushed in it. So the rough surface, as I just told, that they will be made up of a rough surface. So when the surface will be very, very rough, it will give the desired friction in order to mill it into, crush it into completely in the form of a flour. And it helps to crush the wheat. So the wheat will be converted into flour, and the extraction rates are around 90 to 95%. The extraction rates are this high because all of the parts of the wheat are included in it. We are not removing any part as such. It retains almost all the nutrients because we have included the bran and the germ. Nothing has been sieved out or left out. So it will be containing almost all of the nutrient while simultaneously eliminating the part of the grain which are most indigestible. Another advantage of this method is that the parts like cellulose and phytic acid, which are not that digestible, are removed in this method. So first one is the grain cleaning. So what is the main objective of cleaning? We have already learned this in the rice milling. The main objective of cleaning is we want the high efficiency during the milling, right? If some impurities are present, it will interfere with the equipment, it will decrease the efficiency. So we want to remove any non-grain part. So for example, if other than wheat, some other things are present, we want to remove them, and we want to remove any grain which is not fit for milling. So if there are some damaged kernels or some kernels in which there is some insects or something, we want to remove all of them which are not fit for milling and which might affect the final quality of the flour. That is the main objective of the grain cleaning. So for the cleaning, we are utilizing a number of equipments, and the first equipment that we are looking at is the vibrating screen. So as the name suggests, we have screens which will be vibrating. So they will remove any bits of straws and other coarse materials and also foreign particles like seed. So the main motive is to remove any other materials other than the grain which might be present along with the wheat. For example, we might have certain foreign materials, for example seeds, straw, all of this might come from the field along with the wheat. So this vibrating screen is going to remove that. Then we have an aspirator. So as the name suggests, we will be utilizing air for separation. So when we are going to utilize air is going to carry along with it any lighter impurities. So all the lighter impurities will be removed along the stream of the air, for example dust particles. So with the aspirator, we will be removing all the lighter impurities along the flow of the air. Then we have the disc separators. So as the name suggests, this equipment has certain discs in it, and this equipment, the discs are revolving on a horizontal axis. So as we can see, we have a horizontal axis and there are a number of discs on it which catch individual grains, but they will reject any larger or smaller materials. So only the grains of a particular size will be accepted, and all the larger and the smaller materials which are other materials which can be carried along with the wheat, they will be removed in this step. Then we have a scorer. So the scorer have beaters attached to a central shaft which throws the wheat violently against the surrounding drum, breaking off the kernel hairs. So the wheat has some kernel hairs on it. The main motive of the scorer is to remove these kernel hairs, and how basically it will be doing that is we have a central shaft which will throw the wheat suddenly against the walls of the container, and when it will do that, it will break the kernel hairs. So the scorer main motive is to remove the wheat hairs. Then we have magnetic separator, as the name suggests, to remove any iron and steel particles. So the equipment will have magnets in it, and with the help of the magnets, any impurities which are iron or steel particles which can be carried from the field, they can be easily removed with the help of magnets. Then we have washer stone. So as the name suggests, washer, we will be utilizing water, and then we are going to remove stone. So high speed rotators spin the wheat in the water. So they are rotating at a very high speed, and they will be spinning the wheat, and bath excess water throws by centrifugal force. So centrifugal force is utilized to throw the wheat at a very high speed, and the stones will drop at the bottom. So as we know, stones will be heavier in weight, they will drop at the bottom, and the lighter materials will float, leaving only the clean wheat, whereas the lighter materials will start to float and the heavier materials will fall down. As a result, what we will be left with will be only clean wheat. So after all of these washing, after all of these cleaning steps, we will finally go for the milling of the wheat. So the first step for the milling of the wheat is the conditioning and the tempering. So meaning of the conditioning and the tempering. So first of all, conditioning meaning moisture is added to the wheat. The main motive why moisture is added to the wheat, and the moisture level is increased from 10 to 11 to around 15 to 19% moisture. So how much final moisture content will be attained depends from variety to variety. For some variety we might try to attain 15%, for other varieties 17%. So it will differ from variety to variety. Around 15 to 19% moisture level, the level is being increased, and that moisture is finally attained. So mainly there are the three sections in the conditioning. First one is the preheating. Once we are heating the grains, so the grains conditioning can be done, see, either at the room temperature, or we can somewhat increase the temperature, but the temperature will not be increased beyond 47 or beyond 50 degrees Celsius maximum, because when we are using very high temperatures, what can happen is the endosperm qualities can be affected, and even the gluten quality of the wheat will start to get affected. So we will not be utilizing a temperature higher than 47 or 50 degrees Celsius at max, and then moistening it, that is adding the moisture, and finally cooling the grain. These are the three steps which we will be looking at while the conditioning. Now in the tempering, in the conditioning we have added the moisture. Now we have to give some resting time to the wheat so that this complete moisture can be absorbed into the endosperm, and all of the wheat can attain the desired moisture content. So the holding of the wheat will be done. That is how the conditioning is differing from the tempering. We have added the moisture content in this step, and here we are giving it a resting time so that all of that water can be completely absorbed into the wheat. So the resting time can be 8 to 36 hours, sometimes it can even go higher than 36 hours. It allows the water to penetrate into the endosperm. So why basically we are giving this holding time or resting time to the wheat? So that all of the water which we have added during the conditioning step, it can be completely penetrated into the endosperm. Now why it is done? What is the need before milling in order to add this, in order to add moisture content? Why do we want to raise the moisture level of the wheat? So first of all, it aids in the separation of bran from the endosperm. This process will help in separating the bran easily from the endosperm. And why is that happening? Because tempering helps to toughen the bran coat, whereas soften the endosperm. So it will have two functions. The outer bran coat will be toughened because of it, whereas the inner endosperm will get somewhat softer, or we can say it will become somewhat mellower. As a result, the separation becomes very easy, because the outer part, the bran as well as the germ, they will become somewhat brittle, and once they are somewhat brittle, they will be more easy to separate from the endosperm. So that is the main reason why conditioning and tempering of the wheat is being done. So just before we will start the milling of the wheat, again we will pass it through an entolator. The reason being is rapidly spinning discs will be utilized, which will throw the grain against the small metal pins. So the equipment consists of small metal pins which will crack and remove any unsound kernel which are rejected for grinding. So if there are still any unsound kernel which might go into the grinding and affect the final quality of the wheat, they have to be removed, and as a result this equipment is utilizing rapidly spinning discs, along with we have small metal pins in order to crush down anything which is any grains which are unsound or not fit for the grinding. Now the grinding step consists of, first step is the breaking or the crushing. Now the motive of the breaking or the crushing is to separate as much as bran and germ as possible. So when we are saying separating as much as bran and germ as possible, basically we are talking about producing the white flour, or you can say the refined flour, because for the production of refined flour we need only and only endosperm, and we do not want any parts of the bran or the germ to come. The reason why, okay, to get maximum flour from resulting endosperm, and the another motive is that whatever endosperm we are getting after the removal of the germ and the bran, we have to receive as much as flour from it as possible, right? So first we are removing the bran layer and the germ layer, and then whatever endosperm is left, we want to get as much as flour from it as possible. We want higher extraction rates. So basically, first of all, how wheat milling is being done. First step that we are looking is the breaking or the crushing right now, which will be followed by the reduction step. So in the breaking step, we are passing the wheat through certain corrugated rollers. As you can see, the surface of the rollers is more of corrugated. And then in the reducing rollers, we are passing the wheat through a smooth set of rollers. As we can see in the diagram itself, that the surface of these rollers is very, very smooth. Now the main motive here is to scrape off the outer bran layer, to remove that, and what we want to attain is mainly the endosperm. Finally, the endosperm will be crushed completely into flour with the help of these reducing rolls. So there will be a number of rolls from which the wheat is being passed. The break rolls can be anything from around 4 to 5, and the reducing rolls can be as high as 12 in number. 12 to 14 in number. So we will be passing them through many break rolls one by one, and after that it will be, so after passing through each set of break rolls, they will be sieved in order to separate them on the basis of size. Similarly, after passing through each set of reducing rolls, they will be sieved after each pass in order to separate them depending upon the size. Because when we talk about wheat milling, we want to obtain not only the refined wheat flour but certain other products as well which have a different size. So for the main reason, if we look at the basic principle, we are also utilizing the principle of sieve analysis here, meaning we have a set of sieves. So the sieves are arranged one after the another with the reducing pore size. So as we keep on going down the sieve, the pore size will keep on reducing. The larger particles will be retained over here, smaller here, even smaller here. The set of sieves can be very, very high in number as we want. So what will be separated at each step? So once we pass, after the first break roll, once we pass it, we will be sieving it and we will be separating based on the size. So on the basis of the size, we can get these three products: shorts or germ, some other products. So the other products, they can be mixed along with each other sometimes, and then we have the bran. So these three will be separated, and then on one side we will be obtaining the flour. Mainly we are obtaining the flour in the second step when we are passing it through the reduction rolls. But even when passing through the break rolls, small amount of flour can be produced. So we will separate that flour also, which has been produced in this in the break roll step itself. That flour is being separated over here, and it is being mixed with the flour which is being obtained from the flour which is coming from the reduction rolls. So now we will be looking at detail. First of all, the reducing process, followed by first of all the breaking process, followed by the reducing process. So in the breaking process, after the tempering, the wheat passes through the break rollers. So the first step after the tempering is to pass them through the set of break rollers, and we have just seen in the diagram, they are the two horizontal corrugated steel rollers. So the important thing that they are the corrugated rollers and they are rough in their texture, and they rotate in opposite direction. So they are rotating in the opposite direction, as well as the speed of the one roller will be faster than the other roller. The break milling is done in 4 to 5 stages. So it can be either we can be passing through 4 or 5 set of rollers. The first stage of roller will just crack the wheat grain. So once we will pass through the first set of roller, initially we are simply cracking the wheat grain, and once we are cracking it, what we want to do is to remove the bran from the endosperm. Although the process is known as crushing, so the name of the process is crushing, but however we are cracking the grain rather than crushing it. The crushing is mainly happening in the next stage, which is the reducing stage. So although we are calling the name of the process is the crushing rollers, mainly we are cracking the grain rather than crushing it. The bran is cracked, and once the bran is cracked, the endosperm and the kernel will break open. The endosperm adhering to the bran is milled away successively, and now we will start the milling process. With every set of rollers, we will do sieving after that. So firstly, any endosperm adhering to the bran will be milled away successively. Then they are passed through a series of break rollers. From the last series break rollers, suji, rava, semolina, all these products will be obtained. So by the end of the process, after passing through all the 4 to 5 rollers, we will be obtaining all of these products. So each set of rollers will basically take a stock from the preceding rollers. So we are utilizing around 4 to 5 set of rollers. So after the first roller, whatever is coming from here, we will be doing sieve analysis, separating them on the basis of the size, and then passing it through the second set of rollers, and again passing it through the set of sieves, separating it on the basis of size, and then again passing it through the third roller. So all the rollers will be getting its stock from the preceding roller. This whole process will continue like this, and after each break, the mixture of the bran, so after every break, the mixture that we are obtaining over here can consist of free endosperm, free germ, endosperm still adhering to the bran, all of these. So we have to separate all of them. We want to separate the bran, we want to separate the germ, we want to separate the endosperm, and there can be some part of endosperm from which the full bran has not been separated. So we are going to separate all of them for bran, germ, endosperm, and endosperm from which bran is still adhering to the surface. So there can be some endosperm which bran is still sticking to the surface. We will be separating all of them. Endosperm which is still adhering to the bran is sent to the next break roll. So if there is still bran which is left on the endosperm, we will be sending that into the next break roll, whereas if we obtain pure endosperm, we will be sending it to the reduction rollers for the next step. So if there is endosperm adhering to the bran, we are sending it to next break rollers, whereas if we get middlings, so middlings is a term we are mainly using for the endosperm. So if we get only middling, that is pure endosperm from which bran and germ have been removed, we will be sending it into the next step, that is the reduction rollers, in order to mill it completely into flour. So what we have seen basically over here, that we have 4 to 5 set of rollers, and after each set of rollers we are sieving it in order to separate the bran, germ, endosperm and endosperm from which bran has not been removed fully. So if we are getting the pure endosperm, we will send it into the next step, that is the reduction rolls for making flour out of it. But if there is an endosperm from which the bran has not been removed, that endosperm will be sent to the next rollers, and similarly we will be sieving it again for separating all of these particles. And then if we have pure endosperm, whatever we are receiving after sieve analysis here, we will be sending to again reduction rollers, and then the endosperm again from which the bran has not been removed will go to the third break rollers, similarly fourth break rollers, and so on. This process will continue. Then the equipments that we are utilizing over here for the separation are the plant sifters and the purifiers. So the plant sifter will remove the large bran pieces adhering with the endosperm at the top. So this equipment is being utilized, which helps in separating any large bran pieces which has endosperm at the top. And the next series, then we will be utilizing it again, which will be separating finer removed bran and germ. And in the next step, we will be separating still finer sieve will remove the endosperm middling. So the set of the sieves that we are utilizing is known as the plant sifters, which will be separating all of those one by one. And then we have purifiers. So as the name is telling, again we will be utilizing air over here. So the middling containing the final bran particles are removed by purifier before they move on to the reduction roll. So we will be utilizing a stream of air to remove any kind of finer bran particles before we go to the next step. So then we have the reduction. So now in the reduction step, what we mainly have is the endosperm, coarsely ground endosperm, which we want to crush completely in order to produce flour. So After removing the above things which we have seen, the bran, germ, all of them, once we have removed them, the rest of the semolina is passed through the reduction rollers, or we can say the rest of the endosperm is being passed through the reduction rollers. The surface of the rollers are smooth. So as we had looked in the diagram, that the second set of rollers that we are utilizing will be smooth in nature, and just like in the brake rollers, we were utilizing around 4 to 5 set of rollers. Here we may be utilizing around 12 or sometimes even 14 set of rollers, smooth rollers, in order to crush it completely into flour. These rollers also rotate in opposite direction, but the speed is lesser than the brake rollers. However, the speed of these rollers is somewhat less than the brake rollers, but similarly, just like brake rollers, they are also moving in the opposite direction. So after each reduction, again here also we will be going for sieving them on the basis of the size. So after each reduction of the endosperm or middling, so endosperm, middling, semolina, these are all terms which are used interchangeably. The flour is sifted away from the bigger size middling. So if we have any bigger size middling, so what can happen is, once we are passing from a set of rollers, we are obtaining some flour, whereas some endosperm particles are still left which were not ground into flour. So we will sieve it, we will separate the flour, and then these will be passed again to the second set of roller. Then again we will sieve it, again we will separate the flour, and whatever particles are left we will be passing it through another set of roller. Similarly, we will be utilizing around 12 sets of rollers, and after each set we will be sifting it on the basis of the sizes and then separating it. So the remaining middlings are passed to the next reduction roller. So if we have any leftover middlings, we are passing them to the next roller, and this process will continue. After each reduction, the product is separated by plant sifters, and again we are utilizing plant sifters in order to separate the particles. So now after the milling of the wheat has been done, so by the reduction rollers, finally we have obtained the flour. So we will go for bleaching. So what bleaching is basically, why we are doing bleaching is mainly done to whiten the flour. The reason is, the freshly milled flour can have somewhat yellow color due to the presence of xanthophylls. On oxidation, this yellow color will be removed, but once we are dealing with the bulk flour, what can happen is this oxidation process is very slow. So if we are having a lot of quantity of the flour, so if we are having a very high quantity of the flour, the exposure to the oxygen can be very limited, and the oxidation might take a very much time. So as a result, in order to accelerate the process, we might be using certain bleaching agents in order to help accelerate this process. So however, bleaching can be happened by oxidation, but when we are dealing with bulk quantity, this process will be slow. As a result, we are adding certain bleaching agents. So we can either be adding oxidizing agents or reducing agents. So oxidizing agents are added to the flour to help in the gluten development. They are not only providing the white color to the flour, but also helping with the gluten development. So examples of oxidizing agents are benzoyl peroxide, ascorbic acid, potassium iodide, or we might even be utilizing certain other agents. For example, even chlorine gas is utilized many times. Then we have reducing agents. So sometimes reducing agents might also be added to the flour. So again, the use of the reducing agent depends upon what is the final use we want to put the flour in. So for example, if the flour contains a very high protein quantity, but if we want to reduce the protein because the final use of the flour is maybe in order to produce biscuits or cakes, then we do not need very high protein content, we need somewhat lower protein content. In that case, we might be adding certain reducing agents in order to reduce the gluten strength of the flour. So example of reducing agents will include sulfur dioxide, and certain other agents can also be used. So extraction rate. So if you remember at the beginning we used this word extraction rate. So what basically extraction rate means? This term holds very much importance when we are talking about the milling of the wheat flour. The reason being is sometimes from the wheat flour we are producing whole wheat flour or maybe even refined wheat flour. Percentage of flour which is produced from the given quantity of the grain. So extraction rate can be defined as what is the percentage of flour that we have attained from a given quantity of flour. So if we are given 100 kg of the grain, how much flour have we been able to produce from that? Is it 100 kg only or lesser than that? That is basically how much percentage of the flour is being produced from the given quantity of the grain. So we can define it as flour obtained by grain taken for milling into 100. So now if we think the extraction rate of the whole wheat flour will be more than the refined wheat flour. The reason being, in the whole grain flour we are taking the bran, germ as well as the endosperm, whereas in the refined wheat flour we are removing both of them, so we will be left with a smaller quantity of the flour. As a result, the refined wheat flour will have an extraction rate around 70%, whereas the whole wheat flour will have extraction rate approximately, we can say 95 to around 100%. And higher extraction rate basically tells us that higher is the retention of the nutrients, because when we are removing the bran and the germ in order to produce refined wheat flour, we are also devoiding the flour from certain nutrients which are present in them. Now we are looking at the byproducts which have been obtained during the flour milling. So first we can get the bran, then shorts, then we have red dog, then we have low grade flour, and then we have germ. So all of these are the byproducts which can be produced during the milling. So bran is basically coming from the brake system that we have seen during the brake rollers. We are sifting and removing the bran. Then we have shorts. So shorts are basically coming from the residue system, and they are small particle size bran pieces. So shorts is a name given to bran pieces only, but which are somewhat smaller in size, even broken smaller than as compared to the normal bran pieces. Then we have red dog, which is coming from the low grade system, and flour rich bran particles. So they are the bran particles which can have some flour with it. As a result, these particles will be somewhat greater than the flour in size. So if we look at all of the three, we can have bran, we can have shorts, which is bran divided into very small pieces, and then we can have red dog, which is basically flour rich bran particles. So bran particles which might be containing some flour with it, and then we have low grade flour, which is coming from the flour size particles from the last grinding step. So from the last grinding step, whatever flour we are obtaining, that is the low grade flour, is again a byproduct. And then germ, from which is coming from the sizing system. Again, during the sieve separation we are removing the germ as well, because again for the production of refined wheat flour we were removing the germ as well. So germ will also be a byproduct if we are producing the refined wheat flour. So all of these byproducts can be obtained in the wheat milling. With this, basically I end this topic. The wheat milling has been completed, and I hope that this topic was clear to you. Thank you.